All right, everyone. Welcome to speech orientation for the Camelback Classic Tournament. I know we're not doing this in person or even live together online, but I want to thank you whenever you are watching this. If you're watching with anybody, thank you for watching this. Thank you for taking the time to come and judge at the Camelback Classic Tournament, and I'm excited to go through all this with you. All right. So, to start off, a little bit about me. My name is Rachel Shipley. I'm a former competitor from STOA. I competed for 6 years. My family joined the league, and my older siblings started competing when I was 6 years old. So I've been around the block when it comes to STOA. And now I'm an alumni and a coach. And I'm very, very blessed to be in a position to be able to share some of the things I've learned with students and with judges now in orientation. Um, for for anybody who's not familiar, STOA is a speech and debate league. The mission and goal of STOA is to train Christian homeschooled youth in speech and debate in order to better communicate a biblical worldview. It's a national speech and debate league, so we operate in so there are kids from all of the different states. Kids in any of the 50 states are welcome to come and compete at tournaments. This is specifically just for homeschooled students. This isn't for public school students or private school students. It's the heart is to help the homeschooled community because in the homeschool community, there is a lot less room and freedom to be involved in extracurricular activities. And so a big part of the heart of STOA is to reach out to those homeschooled students, to give them a community, to give them a place to come together and learn together. And also a big part of the heart is to get the parents involved in a way that they aren't often involved in regular schools. It's not just a community of kids that come together and learn, it's a community of families. So parents bring their children to school. Most of the judges are going to be parent judges. And then we have you lovely community judges watching this. And that's part of what makes STOA so special. STOA is comprised of kids aged 12 to 18. So that's going to be primarily junior high and high school. And there are since STOA's inception, it has just continued to grow and grow and grow. We now have more than 100 plus tournaments every year. Camelback Classic is just one of those tournaments, but thank you so much for your involvement. The bigger league wouldn't matter if it weren't for the individual tournaments. So thank you all so much for coming and judging here today. During this orientation, we're going to be going over the speeches, what the main speeches you may be judging are going to be, the setting of this, sort of the rounds, the tournament, what that's going to look like, and what your responsibilities are as a judge. Then the ballots. You're going to get sheets of paper that are called ballots, what you're supposed to do with them, what the heck any of the stuff on the ballots means. And like I said before, thank you so much for coming to judge at this tournament. I benefited so much from my years in speech and debate. It just made the biggest impact in my life, and I continue to see its impact trickling down into my life today. And I love being a part of the community as an alumni and a coach, but none of it would be possible if it weren't for people like you coming out and judging at tournaments. So thank you so much. So there's a few main kind of buckets of speeches. The first of those is interpretation. The focus of interpretation is going to be kids taking a literary work and then interpreting that and acting it out. So if you're familiar at all with high school drama or Broadway, it's kind of like that, where they're doing their take on a literary work. However, there aren't prompts, there aren't costumes, you don't have a huge cast of people. And we'll dive into more depth into each of these different events in each of the main buckets of events. The next big one that you should know about is platform events. Platform events include original oratory, persuasive, expository. The focus on this is more, it's not acting, it's more explaining a concept. And finally, there's limited prep. Limited prep is different than the other two. The other two, you have an unlimited amount of time to prepare for it. The kids would write a script and then memorize it and then perform the piece at the tournament. Limited prep, the preparation time is limited. We'll dive more into that later. But the main events there are extemporaneous, Mars Hill, apologetics, and impromptu. And finally, the last main bucket is called the wildcard events. These are really, really special because unlike all of the other speech events that have been around for years and will continue to be around for students to compete in, wildcard events switch out every 2 years. So every 2 years, the community of Stoa will vote on a new speech event to have, and then that will be there for 2 years, and then 2 years after that, another one will come in, and so on and so forth. So really unique, really special. Okay, so the first main kind is the platforms. So a platform is a prepared speech written and memorized by the competitor. The goal of platforms is to inform, to entertain, to persuade, to expose, or to inspire. That's the main goal and purpose of these. Original oratory is going to be more focused on the informing or entertaining. Persuasive is the goal is more to persuade. So instead of just the kids telling you about something, in persuasive, the kids are going to be seeking to persuade you to do something, to change in some way. And then expository is to expose. It's a really fun speech because kids are allowed to use props. So kids will dive into different topics and they'll use props as visual aids to help them. For example, we had one student one year who did one on the tabernacle, and he created a whole big prop that had all the different little pieces that he used to break it down and explain it and help people see visually what was explained in the Bible. So super cool, super fun one. If you get a chance to judge it, I'd really recommend that one. But they're all super, super wonderful. The next main bucket is limited prep. So speeches are prepared on site. So instead of having a script that gets prepared beforehand and then memorized and then performed, what's going to happen is you as judges are going to be provided with a copy of topics and questions. Each student, when they come in, will take, and they're typically the topics or questions are in, they're typically slips of paper. So the student will typically grab 3 slips of paper, start however much preparation time they get, and then they'll sit in the room and prepare their speech in front of you, and then they'll get up and they'll give their speech. The preparation and speaking time for each of these events does vary. There's going to be on all of your ballots a copy of the event rules that will get into more detail for each event, what the specific rules are, what the timing is, what the preparation time is, and go into even more detail than we have time to go into today about each of the speeches. So please read that if you're judging an event for the first time. But the main speeches there are extemporaneous. The focus of extemporaneous, which is shortened to extemp, is it's talking about something that's happening in the current news. So whether or not that's a foreign affair or an economic question, anything to do with the news, with current events, that's what gets focused on and kids talk about in extemp. Mars Hill is going to be more focused on cultural events, or not cultural events, cultural topics. And the kids will get a cultural topic, whether or not that's a movie, a book, a podcast, a piece of art, and then they'll take that topic and connect it to biblical truth. Apologetics is all about answering questions and defending your faith. It's just one of the most wonderful speeches because it helps students not only learn how to defend their faith, how to articulate their faith clearly, but it also makes your faith, I competed in this one a lot, it makes your faith really personal to you because you get confronted with these really good questions and then you go have to find the answers to those questions, not just how it matters for your audience, for your judge, but also how it directly matters and impacts you in your life. So a super formative, super beneficial speech. And the fourth kind of limited prep is a really fun one. It's called impromptu, whereas each of the 3 limited preps before have a distinctive topic area like the news or the faith or culture. Impromptu is it's a complete wild card. You never know what you're going to be talking about. It could be a quote. It could be as random as like a highlighter. It literally could be anything. And then you take that thing and you give a speech on it, which just really helps the kids develop quick thinking, idea generation, a super, super valuable one, and a really fun one to judge because you never know what the kids are going to do. They do some wild things. They really just have a lot of fun with it. Diving deeper into apologetics and Mars Hill. For these limited preps, the content is going to outweigh the delivery. And so there's some very, very talented speakers that we have, people who are really good at delivering speeches. But what really, really counts with these speech events is the content of what they're saying. It's not just it's not just how they say it, it's really what they're saying. For apologetics, yeah, the topics are theological in nature. It's a defense of the faith. It's not always going to be evangelistic. It's not always going to be presenting the gospel. It could be answering a very deep theological question, right? And it's a limited amount of time. So if a kid doesn't give you the gospel message in a speech, it doesn't mean they didn't answer the question well. And in order to judge apologetics, judges must agree with the Stoa statement of faith. It'll be available at the end here for you guys to look at. For Mars Hill, the topics are going to be, from culture, and it's to identify or explain an issue that's, or a philosophy that's revealed by the topic, provide a research biblical response, and compassionately lead the listener to the biblical truth of it. The really fun part about Mars Hill is that it's supposed to be a conversational delivery. Imagine it like you're sitting in a coffee shop across from the student and they're a friend of yours and they're just breaking something down. It shouldn't feel super polished, super like speechy. It should feel very conversational, like y'all are just talking about this movie that you watched not long ago. All right. For impromptu, the delivery for impromptu is a little bit more emphasized in this because the content can be all over the place. Content is important for all of them. But impromptu, a lot of how the kids say it can affect the rankings more than for apologetics and Mars Hill. For impromptu, you're going to have a wide variety of topics. It demonstrates on-the-spot thinking. It communicates the theme and a topic in a memorable way. And this is really, really important if you're judging impromptu. This is your time to tune in. The prompt must be a central theme to the speech. A problem that a lot of kids and a challenge a lot of them overcome with this is taking the topic and then tangentially relating it to something they know a lot about and then talking about that other thing for the entire speech, which is not the focus of impromptu. The prompt needs to be the central theme of the speech. If the kids are kind of getting totally off topic, that can affect how you decide who did the best in the round versus who did not do as well. Extemporaneous is questions about the recent news, right? They analyze current events. They'll be quoting different sources, a lot of different news publications, different think tanks, all of that. They need to take a position on the topic. They can't just say what's happening. They need to take a specific position on what they think about it. And for extemporaneous, as opposed to the other limited preps where the kids can come in any order, there's no particular order for the other ones. And in those other speech events, like I explained, the kids are going to typically come in, take their topics, select one, and then start their prep time and then give their speech. Extemporaneous is different. There is an assigned order in speaking times. The kids will not be preparing there in the room. They'll be preparing in a different room with a different set of procedures that I won't get into. But just know the other ones, if the kid comes in and says, can I go? I know, it doesn't matter if on your paper they're first or eighth. The order doesn't matter for the other speeches. For extemporaneous, the order does matter. Yeah, for interpretation, there's a few different kinds. There's humorous, dramatic, duo, and open. It is to select and analyze literature, to bring it to life through voice, movement, facial expressions. They're not bringing it to life through costumes or props. They will be wearing the same outfit the whole time. The outfit's not going to change. They're not going to have any props. They have to just use them to bring a piece to life, which makes it really, really special. For humorous through duo, it should be plot-based. And so there's going to be a plot with a clear, beginning and climax and conclusion for all of them. And humorous and dramatic and duo are all going to be based on a literary work that they're taking and maybe tweaking a few words here, but it's pretty much just the work that they're bringing to life. Open interpretation is really fun because it can be self-written. It could be somebody else's piece of literature, or it can be something the kids wrote themselves. Humorous is going to be more lighthearted in nature. It's going to be funny. It's going to be humorous. Dramatic is going to be more serious. There's probably going to be a box of tissues somewhere in the room because sometimes we as judges need those tissues if we're judging dramatic. Duo and open can be serious or lighthearted or a mix of both. For duo specifically, it's going to be, so for humorous, dramatic, and open, it's just one speaker bringing it to life by themselves. Duo is really fun because it's teams of two. So two kids will come in and collaborate to bring a piece to life. But it's two speakers, it's just one speech. So they're doing it and performing the piece together, and there's going to be no direct contact. So they're not going to be like touching each other doing that. which is a fun challenge for them, to figure out how to like shake each other's hands in the piece, or if two characters in the piece are hugging or dancing together and they can't touch each other, how they're going to make all that work. The wild card for this year is slam poetry, which is a thematic expressionistic presentation of poetry. Poetry can be original, published, or compilation of the two of them. The focus is your voice, right? The tonality, the vocal variety that kids are going to have with limited movement. So as opposed to the interpretive speeches where kids can be running across the room and jumping and doing backflips, all of that fun stuff, in slam poetry, you're going to have limited movement. The kids aren't going to be doing big dramatic things with their arms as much, more limited. It's all focused on your voice and using that to express the emotion and the imagery of the poetry. And the really, really fun about wildcard speeches is that the audience can actually participate by snapping. I can't snap, so I will not be doing that, or clapping. And that's your way if you really think like if someone just dropped some bars, it was really good. In the speech, you can start snapping or clapping. The one thing we ask is that you don't be incredibly, incredibly disruptive. The kid is trying to focus on giving their speech, so please do interact. When the audience participates, it makes it more fun for the audience, it makes it more fun for the kids. But if you clap very loudly for a minute straight, so the kid has to pause their speech for a minute, that means they're going to not have enough time to give their speech. So participate, but please also be mindful and respectful of the kids. I hope you don't have questions. If you, because obviously you can't ask me this is just a recording. If you do have questions, feel free to reach out to me, text me, call me. My phone number is 209-581-3919. Feel free to reach out to me with questions after you watch this. Judges, I don't know you. I can't see your face. I don't even know who's listening to this right now. So I don't know where you're at. But if you're scared, I promise you, you can do this. This is not something that you have to be qualified for. This is not something you have to go through a bunch of training for. Watching this video is the only training you need. You can totally do this. It is not, the kids are just grateful to have judges, to be honest. You're judging them, they're not judging you. So don't worry about any fears of whether or not you're qualified for this. I promise you, you are qualified. Please be responsive. You are the audience. Oftentimes, it'll just be you and the students in the room. There's not a whole audience behind you. So help the kids out. Smile, laugh when they make a joke. Even if the joke isn't that funny, you can politely laugh, make them feel better. Be responsive, be engaging. Don't just have like this stone cold hard face and just be like looking at them and never smiling. You're probably going to make them nervous. Be responsive, smile when they shake your hand. Nod if you think something is true. You are the audience and they're going to be kind of working with you. And if they're getting no sort of interaction for you, it's just a little bit more challenging for them. Secondly, please set aside your personal bias and expertise. You might be a political science teacher at a college university and know an amazing amount about this particular area of topic, right? About Russia, that some kid who's giving a extemporaneous speech is talking about. And they might be technically saying things wrong and you know it. We ask you to set aside your personal bias and expertise when judging. The focus of this is training kids to think critically, to speak publicly, and to change the world for Christ. It's not about what you know and you judging them based off of what you know, or even worse, based on your personal biases. We ask that you take all of your personal biases, the opinions you have, the expertise you have, any knowledge you have, and set that aside when you judge the kids, and judge them purely based off of their performance, how they did in comparison to the other kids that gave speeches. Thirdly, we want your opinion. Please don't consult with other judges or audience members when making your decision. The point is you are the judge. And this is your set of ballots to fill out. We want your opinion, not the opinions of other people, or not your opinion influenced by a bunch of other people. And please give feedback that will motivate and educate the students. We want to help them. Our job as judges and our role in this community is not just to create the results that are going to determine who does well in the tournament, who wins, who doesn't. Our primary purpose is to help the kids grow, to help the kids learn more and become better speakers, become better presenters. So please give feedback that's going to actually educate them and is also going to motivate them to keep doing, keep growing, keep improving. Please do not discuss speech content with the speakers before you've made your decision or in the round. It can be really tempting if a kid gave a fantastic speech and you have all these thoughts and opinions about their speech to tell them right then and there. We ask that you don't do that. Of course, you can tell them as you're shaking their hand, right after they give their speech, you can say, "Great job, you did great, that was a wonderful speech, that was lovely, that was touching." Do the little things like that, that's fine. Please don't discuss the content of the speech with the speaker until after you've turned in your ballots. And even then, if you want to give them some specific feedback, it's okay if you want to do that, but don't tell them how you ranked them in the room, whether or not you put them high or low, what you ranked them. Don't discuss the outcome with the students at all, because that is not something they find out till after the tournament. And please do not discuss speech content with speakers until the round is over and you have turned in your ballots already. For the setting, so you're going to sit, you're going to go to the tournament. First off, let's back out a little bit. You're going to get an address of the tournament site location. You're going to follow the address. You're going to find the parking. There's probably going to be some community judge parking with some signs. If there's not, you can probably park anywhere, or ask the logistics team. I'm not the logistics team. I don't know where we're going to be at, so don't text me with questions of where you're supposed to park. I can't help you. But there will be people there, typically anyone who looks like a homeschool parent wearing a yellow or orange vest that says like logistics or something like that, or facilities can help you out. Find your parking, and then you're going to want to find the community judge check-in if you haven't checked in before, and there'll be a table there with signs, or the judge lounge. Or like I said, most of the kids we have here are pretty smart, so you can also ask them, a kid who's wearing a suit. If you see a high schooler wearing a suit, pretty good bet that that is the right person for you to be interacting with part of the tournament. You can ask them, they can help you out. Or if you see staff personnel, or if you see me there, I'll do my best to figure it out for you. And then once you get to the judge, go through the judge check-in, and then you'll get your ballots. And then on your ballots, there'll be a room number that you go to. You can also get help finding that room. When you go into that room, you're going to sit at the assigned judge table, and please, please, please turn off your phone. We don't want phones going off in the middle of kids trying to focus on preparing or presenting their speeches. Please wait for all of the judges to come before starting the round. Typically, there will be between 1 and 3 judges for all the preliminary rounds. Once you get to more of the out rounds, there's going to be more judges, typically 3 to 7 judges about. When you get your ballot, you can always ask the ballot push is what we call them, the people that give you the ballots, that push the ballots out. You can always ask them how many judges they're supposed to be, so you can know you have all the judges before you start the round. Audience members can come and go between the speakers. Not during the speeches. So please, no one should be leaving the room while the kid is in the middle of giving the speech. It should happen before or after. The head judge is going to control the timer, and the timer is going to be turned around facing the competitor so the competitor can see how much time they've used. And so they'll be starting and stopping the timer and reading off the time that the student spoke for, and they're going to be confirming penalties, which we'll get into a little bit later. Please stay until every competitor has presented. We want to make sure all the kids who were supposed to go through that room and compete in that room and give their speech gets a chance to give their speech. So please wait until every competitor has spoken. Competitors may speak out of the listed order. Extemp is the exception for this, like we explained before. After the round, please find the judge hospitality area. There will be some nice snacks and refreshments and probably some coffee if you need it for you there. You can enjoy the refreshments, and then you will fill out and complete your ballots there and turn them in there. For the ballots, there's 2 main types of ballots, and you are going to receive both of these kinds of ballots when you're judging. The first kind is the tabulation ballot, and so on the front is the tabulation. On the back, you're going to have the rules, like I discussed before, so you check that for the specific speak time the students will have. All those event-specific rules will be on the back of this sheet of paper here. But tabulation ballot rules, this is how you're going to rank the room. Rank which competitor did the best, which one did not do the best. For student ballots, this is what you're going to use to evaluate the speech and provide the feedback. So this has all of the different speeches in the rankings. This only has one speech for one student, and each student will get a copy of this ballot. None of the students will be seeing these ballots. Starting off with the student ballot, you're going to copy down the speaker, whatever the kid's name is. So for example, if you were judging me, you'd write down Rachel Shipley, room, whatever room it is, room 10, room 12, room B15, whatever room it is, you're gonna write down your name as the judge, which is you, so you write down your name there, which round it is. So there's different rounds throughout the tournament, round 1, 2, 3, out round 1, finals, whatever round it is, write that down. The duration, which is how long the student spoke for. The event time means how long the time is supposed to be. That is the time limit. So for original oratory, the time limit is 10 minutes. Students can speak for less than 10 minutes. That's not a problem, but they should not be, there's no minimum time limits. It's the length of the speech, but they should not be speaking for more than 10 minutes. They're supposed to be their cutoff time. The speech is supposed to be 10 minutes long, no more. The topic is going to be the topic the student has chosen. So if the student has chosen to speak on the effects of sleep on brain chemistry, you'd write down effects of sleep on brain chemistry, and that would be the topic. Okay, go to the next one. For these, this is still on the student ballot. These are the ballot criteria. This is different for each event, and this is what you're going to use to evaluate the speaker. There's unique criteria for specific events. You're going to rate the student's performance on the evaluation from 1 to 5, 5 being the best, 5 being excellent, 1 being poor. And so you're going to rate their content as either as 1 through 5, and then these specific criteria help you understand whether or not, this specifically is structure. All of this is content, and then 1 through 5 structure, 1 through 5 rhetoric, 1 through 5 language, 1 through 5 impact. And then here's the different criteria you can help use to determine how the student did regarding their structure. These specific numbers, the 1 through 5, are not used by the tournament to determine points or ranking. However, they are very helpful for the students so they understand what areas they can improve on, whether or not they need to work on their structure or their facial expressions. Really helpful if you fill these out for the kids so they know what specific areas to work on. Please record any penalties here. You can see the different penalties that students can get. Like we said before, this will give the duration, the event time, which is how much time, the time limit for the speech. If the student goes more than 15 seconds above the time limit, so for example, if they spoke for 10 minutes and 15 seconds, they would get a 1 rank penalty. If they go 10 minutes and 14 seconds, they're fine. They made it out just by the hair of their chinny chin chin. But if they're 15 seconds or more over time, they will get a penalty. Please confirm any penalties with the head judge. We don't want to be accidentally penalizing kids, so please confirm that with the head judge. Yep. And so, and a 1 rank penalty just means if you were going to rank them first in the room, but they went 15 seconds over time, then you would rank them second in the room. So they go down by 1 rank. Okay. And then in the comment section over here, please, here we go. We can kind of move it over a little bit. Please provide feedback on what specifically worked or did not work for each of these sections. You are given 2 minutes in between speakers to jot down your initial thoughts. So please use that time for the kids. Instead of making them wait longer, you're given 2 minutes in between each speech to jot down your thoughts. And that will help you when it comes to finally ranking them and giving them feedback, because you'll already have some of that written down. Please note you will have more time to complete your ballots after the round. So after the round's over, so don't worry about getting every comment down perfectly, having the perfect penmanship, the perfect handwriting. You're going to have more time after the round finishes to finish your ballots. Just write down whatever you're going to need to remember the student, remember the speaker, remember what they talked about, what you wanted to generally say, because there's going to be around 8 students per room. So it's easy to forget student 1 by the time you get to student 8. So just write down a little bit so you can remember who the kid was, what they talked about, what feedback you wanted to give them. Going back to the you are given 2 minutes between speakers to jot down your initial thoughts. The exception for this is the limited prep speeches, except for extemporaneous. For all of the limited prep speeches where the students prepare in the room in front of you, the time that the students use to prepare is the time you have to jot down your initial thoughts in between students. So for example, for apologetics, each student will prepare for 4 minutes. So a student will finish, they'll leave the room, the next student will come in, and then the student will choose their topics, and then the student will sit at a table and prepare the speech for 4 minutes in that room. Those 4 minutes are your time to jot down your thoughts, write them all down. Please do not be delaying the limited prep speeches or the limited prep rounds even more by adding an additional 2 minutes in between each speaker and all their time to prepare. It's just going to make things run behind schedule-wise. For ordering, this is a really, really helpful tool to help judges stay organized in the rounds. You're going to stack the ballots in order to order the speakers in terms of the one you like the best, the one you like the worst. Consider this order without penalty. I'll explain more on this slide. For example, Mark Twain spoke first, and he gave a fantastic, fantastic speech. He's also the first student that came in, but he gave a really good speech. You just put his paper, one piece of paper, just right there on the top, and you start your pile with Mark. Then Ben Franklin comes in, and Ben Franklin gives a pretty good speech, but it wasn't as good as Mark. So you're going to keep Mark on the top because he was the best, and then put Ben underneath him. And then you're going to have two sheets of paper, Mark on first, Ben on the bottom. So Mark will be number 1, Ben would be number 2 at that point. Then Marie comes in, and she gives a pretty good speech. Marie's speech was better than Ben's, but not as good as Mark's. So even though she was the third speaker to come into the room, the third speech you heard, you liked her second, and you want to rank her second out of those 3. So you're going to sandwich her piece of paper between Mark's and Ben's. So Mark's is still going to be on top because he's number 1. Then Marie is going to go number 2. Then Ben's going to go number 3. And then so on and so forth, right? So they could be at any other position. You know, if a 4th speaker comes in, you could put them on top. If they were even better than any of the ones before, then you put that one on top of Mark's ballot, and then they would be on top. That way, you can remember each speech, and you're not trying to, at the end of the round, think about all 8 speakers and compare them all. All you have to do is just think about, did I like this speech better than Mark's? No, I didn't. Did I like it better than Marie's? No, I didn't. But I did like it better than Ben's speech, so I'm going to put it on top of Ben's, right? It's just a really easy way to keep order of the kind of the mental rank that you have of the students. After all the speakers are done speaking, please confirm any penalties with the head judge to know that there are no mistakes there. Go to the judge hospitality area to finish your comments, complete your ballots. Please ask judge orientation staff if you have any questions, which is me. So if you see me at the tournament, feel free to come and ask me. You can also, once again, text me or call me at 209-581-3919. And please complete the tabulation ballot before you circle the ranks, which is here, on the student ballots. For the tabulation ballot, you're going to use you're going to put down the name of the speaker and what each of their topics were. And then you're going to put down the original rank based on how you ordered them. So when you were stacking your ballots, which was on top, which was second, which was third, which was fourth. And so you're going to put, so for example, Mark was the best. So you put him into number 1. And then Ronald Reagan was, I like these names. These are fun names. And then Ronald Reagan, and then Harriet Tubman, and then Marie, and then Ben, and so on and so forth. And please note, there can be no ties. I know some of the kids are really, really good, and some of the kids are not so good. But there can be no ties. There has to be 1 through the rest of the speakers. If there's no penalty, really, really easy. Just carry forward the final rank there. So 1, 7, 3, 2, 8, 6, 4, 5. One note earlier when I said there were no ties, part of your concern may be, well, Queen Esther, she was the sweetest girl, and I don't want her to be discouraged knowing that she was the worst in the room. Like, I don't want her to see that I ranked her 8th. I feel really bad about that. The good news is, if you go back to the student ballots, they won't see. There's first, second, third, fourth, and fifth and below. So the fifth and below is designed for the students who are not so good, who are still learning and growing, because every student goes through the phase where they're just starting out. For the first year I did it, I got nothing but fifth and belows because I wasn't that good, but I didn't have to see the discouragement of knowing I got placed last in the room. So that's just one way we help the students stay encouraged, and we don't discourage them. But for the purpose of tabulation, we do need to know rank 5 through 6 or 5 through 8 and where they all landed. If there is a penalty, go to ballot return for assistance. They can help you sort out what that's going to look like, what the re-ranking and final ranking should look like. Don't worry about trying to figure it all out yourself. That's why we have the ballot return to help you out with that. And then you're going to go back to the ranking, and you're going to circle the final rank number on the individual ballots. For ranks 5 through 8, please circle 5th and below. Please do not circle 5th or for 5th place and below for 6th and below. Don't do that. I've seen people do that. Use it as it was intended. Go 5th and below if they were 5th through 8th. And then please provide the reason for ranking. This is one spot that a lot of judges would always leave blank, and totally understandable, but for competitors, it is so helpful when you can provide them a reason for ranking. If they got 2nd place, let them know what 1st place did that just slightly got the edge on them. That's really, really helpful feedback, especially as students start to get to higher levels of competition. Just knowing what that little difference was, even if it was just this person spoke for a little bit longer, or this person had more sources, or this person just had slightly better tonal variety, or they made slightly better eye contact than you. It's those little tweaks that can be like the hairs that are split between 1st and 2nd that can really help students grow the most. So please provide a reason for ranking. A few final reminders before I let you all go. First off, before judging, please read the description, goals, and presentation rules that are on the back of the tabulation ballot, like I explained. If there's any penalties, don't circle the student ranks until ballot return assists you. Once the ballots are completed, please take them to ballot return, and they will, and wait. It's hard to see. There you go. Once the ballots are completed, take them to ballot return and wait as they review them. Don't just drop your ballots on the table and walk away. Wait for ballot return staff to help you review them. Judge orientation staff will be available for questions. I will be at the tournament for certain parts, so I'm going to be there to help you out. You can also ask any of the facility members if you have questions, or any of the ballot return ladies to help you out with that. Or ladies or men. The ballot return is typically ladies, but there are some lovely men that help us out sometimes as well. So ballot return staff, please ask them if you have questions. And please have fun. This is not designed to be stressful for you. It might feel a little bit overwhelming at times, but please have fun. Know that you're serving as an educational role for each student. Truly, truly, your help cannot be more appreciated. I can't thank you enough for taking the time to listen to me talk for the past 40 minutes to you, and taking the time out of your day to help these students learn and grow more. So yes, thank you. There's a reason these slides have thank you so much. It's because we really do appreciate you. And as promised, here is the STOA Statement of Faith. Feel free to pause the video at this point, review it if you want to judge apologetics. And that is the end of the presentation. I am so excited to see you all at the Camelback Classic Tournament, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I look forward to judging along with you. Thank you, and bye-bye.